It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name's Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello.
Okay. Is everybody okay?
Define okay.
Well, not coughing.
Right. I didn't recover quick enough after the last one.
Wow. Just jumping right in on this one, ain't we?
Yep.
Oh boy. Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. I hope everybody out there is doing okay. So, what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy? Besides coughing.
Yeah. Still coughing. Yeah, I've recovered from COVID, but I can't get rid of this cough. And like my ears still, I can't hear out of one of my ears. So that's fun. So if I'm yelling, I'm sorry, but I can't hear out of one of my ears.
Did you get your sense of taste back?
It comes and goes. It's really strange. Sometimes I can, like my coffee in the mornings, I can taste my coffee, but like right now I'm drinking a Sprite and it's just wet. So it's got to be a very strong flavor or I can't taste it.
Oh shit,
so,
another Sprite.
Yeah, but I still can't smell anything, so.
In a house full of guys, that might not be a bad thing.
Right. I'm really into like Scentsy. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's like a wax that you melt instead of a candle. And they're pretty strong. I keep all of them in a drawer. And normally it's not a problem, but it got hot or it got cold. And my air conditioner was on the fritz, right? So I turn on my fireplace. Well, I'm using my fireplace for a good 2-3 days there. Phil comes back from the farm and he's like, holy hell, what is that smell? And I'm like, what? And he's like, part of my French, this is what he said. He says, well, it smells like a French whore came running through here or something. And I'm like, what? There have been no whores here, I swear. Well,
that you know of.
Pardon her French.
Come to find out, 10 of the bars that I had in there, 5 of them, half of them leaked out into the drawer, and, they've just been warming up every time I turn the fireplace on. So it's like, oh my God. I'm glad I can't smell that because there's like 10 different smells there.
Wow, everybody else in the house.
Right. So now I've cleaned it up the best I can, but part of what makes Scentsy so great is they use a lot of oil, so it lasts longer. When you're melting them and stuff. So now every time I turn on that fireplace,
soaks into the wood too, doesn't it?
So yeah, we have a French whore living here. And my question was, how does he know what a French whore smells like?
That's a great question. I think we should ask him on the show.
It's like, damn. But not only that, I think of all the money that I fucked up burning 10 bars at once. Jeez. But yeah, I haven't had a lot going on over here. I did finally start Peacemaker, bless.
Okay.
We're 3 episodes in. Actually, I made Phil start watching it with me for Valentine's Day. And I like it. It is so hilarious. I mean, um, the way that they bust on the regular superheroes and stuff, because at first you almost forget this is DC, and then he'll talk about, oh, shouldn't he have been in, Arkham? And it was like, oh, yeah, that's right. So it's pretty cool. Like I said, we're only 3 in, and we're just starting to figure out what butterflies are. So
Okay.
I do think it's pretty interesting that I can't remember her name. The new girl on the team. I watched her in Orange is the New Black. Her name is Juicy in Orange is the New Black. And, when I first saw her, it was like, oh, she's pretty cool because, she in Orange is the New Black, she always had the controversy around her. Everything was centered around her. Well, then they drop it on you. I want to say spoiler, but this is the first episode. They drop it on you that she's actually Amanda Waller's daughter. And you're like, oh, shit. And the team is, if you've seen the movie, which I do think it's pretty cool that they kind of recapped the movie for those who hadn't seen the movie. But if you've seen the movie, at the very end of it, when Starro is going crazy and tearing up the town and everything else, Amanda Waller orders the team back. Don't deal with this. You've done your job. Your job is over. Come back. Well, they basically couldn't leave the town, to be torn up by a big starfish. So they went after the starfish. Well, she was going to explode the bombs in their neck. Suicide Squad. And this team knocked her out. I mean, like, I don't know what it was, baseball bat or something, knocked her out. And they helped the Suicide Squad defeat Starro and everything else. Well, of course, when Amanda Waller came to, she fired all these people. Well, she didn't fire them.
Fire takes on a new meaning when you have a bomb in your neck, doesn't it?
Right. Well, this is her team. This was the, Argus officials that was working her team, not the Suicide Squad.
Okay, good. Yeah.
They were the ones who were responsible for keeping track of them and keeping them, and blowing them up if need be, if they got off track. So she's got these guys now, in her dirty job. This would be like sending you to Serpa kind of thing, So it's pretty cool. I'm curious on how this is going to play out because you can already see, God, I can't remember her name, but her daughter's kind of warming up to the team. And I think it'll eventually come out. Look, this is my mom. The horriblest, murderous bitch that you guys are talking about right now is my mom, So, but yeah, I like it. I'm happy to see where it goes next. But one thing about Juicy, when she was called in to do her casting call, she didn't go in for an audition. James Gunn actually called her personally to come in. And when she sat down with him, she was like, look, I haven't acted a lot. I'm, not real polished and, you've worked with all these people and I don't know if I can do what you want me to do. I don't know if I'd be up to the level of where you want it. And she was like, with Orange and the New Black, I was basically just playing me. That's my attitude. That's my personality. And he says, well, good, because that's what I want. So he had watched Orange is the New Black and was a fan of her. And that's pretty much his ideal was I'm going to put Juicy in this. And pretty much that's what we have right now, So it's kind of cool that, I would feel honored if somebody had personally asked for me, and we want you exactly as you are. Don't change anything, One other thing, and I hope this doesn't turn into a long.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, but I have to mention it. Book of Boba Fett just finished up, and I won't go into how insanely adorable the last episode was. Oh, right. I said I wasn't. I'm not going there. But his little chainmail was, But I was reading an article today where it said that Boba Fett, the season finale, actually drew in more viewers than the season 2 finale of Mandalorian. Okay, I call bullshit. Um, total bullshit. The last time that when the Mandalorian ended on season 2, it was December 8th of 2020. 20, okay? We're quite a ways. You've been over a year now that we have not seen Mando, we have not seen Grogu. They left where he was giving, Grogu over to Luke. So all of us, the fans were like, what the hell's going on? What's going to happen? How can this be the Mandalorian without Grogu and Din? What's going to go on? I think it drew that many viewers in because it was pulling that Mando crowd in. The last 3 episodes did feature Grogu, especially the finale. It was very heavy Grogu and Din. Boba Fett showed up every once in a while, but it was pretty much, it could have been an episode of The Mandalorian. That's how much it featured on them. So I think that it's kind of skewed. They're telling us it's going to be, by the time they give us season 3 of Mandalorian, it's going to be 2 years since we've watched it on TV. So I think they were pulling from that crowd, and I don't think that Boba Fett would have been as popular without the Din crowd. I mean, that's what I think. The finale was good. If you're a Mandalorian fan, I think there was a few things that would have happened that, it being Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett, they should have let Boba Fett have the glory of, like, killing all the leaders at the end. Fennec shouldn't have done that. Boba Fett should have done that. What is it, Diamo? Is that how they pronounce that? The Diamo? That would have definitely showed his power and showed that he was not afraid to get shit done. But instead they let the co-actor, I don't know what, co-star handle that. And I was kind of like, well, I think they could have handled that a little bit better. But other than that, like I said, pretty good. It was kind of crazy. They're like, wait, they're going to tear up the town. And then Boba Fett comes in on a Rancor and tears up the town. So it's kind of okay. I guess it works. But so yeah, I don't know. The way they kind of ended, though, I'm wondering if Mandalorian Din is not going to be in season 2 of this too, because as much help as he gave him and everything else, I can't see him not being a part of this. So,
well, they haven't announced a second season, so we don't know if there will be one. I think by now they would have announced it.
Yeah, and like I said, Disney isn't great at releasing their numbers. They're kind of like Netflix, unless they want to boast. They really don't release numbers. So I don't know how the first episodes went as far as, viewership went. I liked it. I'm not one of those people, as much as I enjoy the Star Wars world, I'm not one of those people that I can name off every creature. I can get storylines confused. So I'm a fan, but I'm not a fanatic. So I'm really enjoying these side series. And I kind of look at it the way I do Marvel movies. I don't know a lot, so it's easy for me to go in and have a good time. Because I don't know if they're totally screwing the canon or if this leaves a hole here because Yoda did this and this wasn't supposed to. I don't know. I really don't. But it's been a good story. And I really think that the first season, now granted they only had 7, 8 episodes?
7.
Yeah, they covered a lot of story in 7 episodes. I know they had to catch us up, but I felt like a lot of this could have been shown in maybe 3 episodes to where we could have actually seen him take his Diamo position and what was happening and maybe some of the, the hardship he's going to come up with against that, not just taking the seat, because that was an interesting story too, but actually fulfilling that role. So I don't know. I'll be curious to see where it goes. I think I know John Favreau. How do you say it?
Favreau.
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 I know he's doing both of these, but I feel like it was a different set of people who worked on Mandalorian. There was such a different feel on that one than Boba Fett. But I also think it's because he was able to go in with some kind of liberty. You know, yes, you have a lore and a canon set down, you know, for the Star Wars universe, but nobody knew Din. Nobody knows Grogu. So they were able to go in and tell a story that wasn't like, well, that wasn't right. You know, Obi-Wan would have been here and this would have happened because this guy, you know, there was none of that because it was completely independent. So if you hadn't watched a single movie, you can go in and enjoy The Mandalorian. I feel like with Boba Fett, you kind of not only had to watch the movies and hear them talking about him, but also had to watch the animated. I think you guys were telling me it was the Clone Wars. That a lot of the answers where people were like, well, who is this and who is that would have been answered had you watched the animation. So I didn't, but I still enjoyed it. I don't know what everybody's bitching about. But
That's okay.
I like
Neither
it.
do they.
Yeah, they don't. And that's like now they're talking about doing a prequel to the sequel. I don't know. I don't know. That confuses me how they do some of that shit. I don't know. But it's kind of like they want to take the last 3 movies and be like, that didn't happen. You know, not yet. Let's give you a different story and see if you guys like this better. And
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So, and like I said, I could have the sequencing wrong, but I'm wanting to say this is after the original 3, but before the Ben and Rey story. So, and isn't that actually the time period that Mandalorian's happening in?
Mandalorian's 5 years after Jedi.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I feel like with the talks of these movies, it's kind of like, okay, this worked here. Let's put lightning in a bottle.
They're going to keep
Well,
cramming
know,
more stuff into the other 20 years or however long it is.
Yeah.
Now, I know they're talking about doing a trilogy that takes place after the sequels.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking then.
And basically it's not going to have anything to do even with Rey and them. It's, from what I understand, which it probably be a good thing, because, you know, it's an open, it's kind of a blank slate. You can go from there.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. Yeah,
I think they have more success when they've done that, when they get away from canon. You know, there's so much that's happened in those 20 years, you know, so it's kind of hard to come out of that and be, well, we can't do that because this happened.
And it's a whole galaxy.
Yeah.
Don't tell me they can't find another story to tell.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, we're seeing with Mandalorian and Boba Fett, they have. You know, now some people may not have cared for those stories, but a lot of people did. You know, I think you guys have said it so great before when you said it's usually not a lot of people complaining. It's just they're louder than everybody else. Mm-hmm. You know, I was upset when Boba Fett came out. I was more upset with myself, though, because I had built this story up in my head. And that the more and more I went back to go, well, wasn't he like this? It was like, no, Liz, there's nothing there that says that he is supposed to be this way, you know. So that was on me. I'm not going to blame John Favreau for not reading my mind and giving me the story that I thought it should have been, you know, because what he gave us was still good. It wasn't what I pictured, but it was good, you know.
Well, you know, yeah, so much for us just spending a little time on this. And I'm sure this is going to get, the time is running. Well, I mean, here's some of this in a nutshell. I mean, I saw the finale, and I thought, I thought it was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start seeing social media, and there is one sequence. Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, okay, that didn't have to be done. But it's like it for these fans, it's like it ruined the whole damn episode. And what I'm talking about, and y'all probably saw this on is the sequence with one of the, as they call them, Power Rangers, did a spin move and fired his gun. And they're like, why the hell do you have to do that? It's like, holy crap. That lasted 5 seconds
Yeah.
out of a 50-minute episode, and that totally fucked it up for you.
And I had to even
Holy
think when that happened.
That was the sequence where they were carrying Santo, the Wookiee bounty hunter.
Yeah.
They were trying to get him to shelter, and it's the guy that he's the one of the mods that has only one eye.
Yeah.
And he does the spin move. And then everybody lost their mind about it and go Rodriguez should never do another Star Wars film or anything.
That's crazy.
And it's like that move is a signature move for Rodriguez. He has it in all of his films, all the mariachi films. It's something he does. Was it dumb? Yes. Did it look cool? I guess.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, you know, it was unnecessary, but it was showboaty, but it's okay. And it's funny because everybody who fought back to everybody being upset about it started showing off all these unnecessary moves that Jedi's have done,
Yeah.
especially a lot of them that have been directed by George Lucas.
Yeah.
So it's like,
well, they're all over dramatic. I mean,
yeah.
I didn't see that as a problem. What I saw as a problem, they're calling them Power Rangers. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
One of the Power Rangers, they're fighting, and we're going to stay here and we're going to defend our town. And then they show you she's using like this little bitty pea shooter pistol looking 22 thing that, you go.
It was a noisy cricket.
It was, you're riding around on brand new bikes, and you are like the strength of the dynamo, and that's what you went to war with? Really?
Well, you know what? If that's the best you have, that's the best that's all you can do,
But, if I, when he recruited these people and everything else, if he's trying to put together something respectable, you make sure your men are armed well. The Power Rangers, I still think that's funny. They are a representation of him. That's his muscle. And you're carrying around a little pea shooter, that you better aim for the eyeball, because that's the only thing you can take out and hurt somebody with that thing,
Ouch.
So it's a good thing he can't spin and shoot, because he needs something. But yeah, I thought that was kind of,
Now,
but don't you?
Go ahead.
Don't you show up with what you've got? And if all you've got is pea shooters, that's what you take out people with.
But when you're sitting there, you've got birds, missiles that you can launch from your elbows, and backpacks and flamethrowers and everything.
That's Boba Fett proper. That's not the people he's
right. But when you go to war, like they knew was coming, you kind of set everybody down and say, okay, this is what I have. What do you have? And take an inventory. And okay, you're going to be on the front line. You don't need that little pea shooter. Why don't you take this? Or, the
Please,
The
Mike.
Wookiee had a big gun he was using and one strapped to his back.
He's a bounty hunter. He's going to be armed to the teeth.
Right. So
just like Boba Fett.
If you're
not
sending all
everybody's
these
a
people
bounty
out,
hunter.
why not give her a good gun and use the pea shooter as your backup then? That way everybody's got a good fighting chance because we're all on the same team, you know. But if I'm sitting here fighting and I've got one strap to my back that ain't doing nothing, I'd want that in somebody's hands.
Okay, number one, bounty hunters are traditionally not team players.
Yeah.
Number two, we are way off in the weeds.
Right.
Admittedly, I will give you guys all credit for not getting into major spoiler territory, but holy shit are we off into the overanalyzing world.
Right. Yeah, like I said, though, when I become Diamo, my guys are going to be armed to the teeth, okay?
Okay. When that happens,
you want to say hi because the side
Okay.
Mike, you might want to mark this and then send it to the FBI.
Nah. For that to happen, I'd have to be worried about this situation.
I keep my NSA guy entertained.
Besides, she's got better guns than we do, so in all of this situation, we get upgrades. It's cool.
I don't believe in pea shooters, just, you know.
Obviously.
But no, that's all I have to say about Boba Fett, and it'll be at least another year before they come out with a season 2. I think the next one coming out is going to be Obi, and that's May 25th, so that'll come out soon. And then I think Andor was the one that we couldn't remember, is the other one that's releasing, and then it'll be Mandalorian. So it's about to be back.
From what I understand, Mandalorian is like December, and Andor may be next year because they're doing 12 episodes, so they're filming all of them together.
So they can use Andor. Well, there's another one then that I'm forgetting because there's two.
Ahsoka's at some point, but I don't remember. I don't think they've actually had a release date.
I don't think they have
because they're still casting.
Maybe I'm thinking Bad Batch.
It could be Bad Batch. Some of the scuttlebutt I saw, and I don't want to get into spoilers, but we do have that. What was it? The Rangers of the New Republic. There may be some movement on that since it was considered dead after the person they were going to have the star on the show is no longer employed by Lucasfilm. I'll just say that much. But they may be going. I saw some scuttlebutt about someone else maybe being moved over to that show. So, and like I said, I'm not going to go into spoilers right now because.
Yeah.
So.
Should be interesting. Like I said, I hope they continue. Like I said, I've enjoyed the stories. One of my sisters hasn't seen Mandalorian yet, but she wanted to watch Boba Fett. It was like, no, watch it the other way first, Watch it the way it came out, and then watch Boba Fett. Because I don't think the whole ending would have been understood had you not seen it. Or you would have understood it, it just wouldn't have meant as much.
I wonder if at this point the Mandalorian's starting to feel like Richie Cunningham.
Richie How's Cunningham that? Or Chuck Cunningham?
Chuck. Richie. Because Happy Days was supposed to be the Richie Cunningham show, and it wasn't after a very short period of time. I think that's kind of happened with Mandalorian too. So.
Well,
I'm just saying.
It is Din's story. It just sounds like Grogu is a very big part of that.
Yeah, but it seems like nobody gives a shit about Din. They want to see Grogu.
Yeah, that's too.
That's what I'm getting at.
He adds filler stuff. He is.
Oh yeah, so did Richie Cunningham.
Yeah, and they had some good parts. But I also think that's why they were so quick to bring Grogu in with him in Boba Fett. Because people are like, we don't want to see him.
Because, well, and plus
We
the
want to see
fact
what
that they
Luke's
want
doing
more
to our baby.
merchandising.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. This is Lucasfilm and Disney. They are the merchandising kings of the universe.
And they knew exactly what they were doing when they gave Yoda Disney eyes. And that's what we have with Grogu.
After what happened with the last trilogy, it didn't do well at the box as well as the box office as they hope, and didn't sell as much merchandise as they hope. Grogu's overshadowed all of it. So
Yeah.
I mean, they're Grogu's going to be around as long as they can.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The next new series announced by Disney Plus is going to be Everybody Loves Grogu.
There you go.
And I'll have the shirt.
I mean, I've told you guys, I watched some of the reaction videos, and most of them have, I mean, there's Grogu front and center. Either it's like a cushion or a figure or a shirt, and it's like, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
No.
My whole computer is Grogu threw up on it.
Season 3 of The Mandalorian. It'll be episode 3. He'll actually take the armor off and he'll be wearing a Grogu t-shirt underneath.
There you go.
Yep.
All righty.
I hope not.
Or he takes the helmet off and he's wearing Grogu ears.
He's got Disney eyes.
There you go. Mikey.
Save us.
Oh God.
Let's
yeah.
move on.
We're moving on. I don't know about the save us part. I didn't watch any of that shit this week at all. Instead, I watched a documentary because I don't know. I don't want to say I felt like I caught shit last week for not watching a documentary, but I watched a documentary this week. So
yeah, I gave you pretty much gave you shit about it.
Kind of a little bit. It's all right though. It's fine.
So weird and dirty, huh?
Which way? Watching a documentary or not watching a documentary?
Not watching it, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe a little. But that could just never mind. The documentary I watched was called Smoke and Mirrors: The Story of Tom Savini.
Ooh.
Anybody want to guess what it was about? No, I'm just kidding.
It was about Grogu.
It was.
Strangely enough, it was not about Grogu. It was, however, about Tom Savini. This came out in 2015 originally, and I watched it on Tubi because it's free. And it's actually, I mean, it's really kind of a biography. I mean, more than anything else. It's not like him just talking about the horror special effects stuff. I mean, he did enough of that in the 80s, so I think he's kind of burned out on it. But it does go back through his whole life. I mean, it goes all the way back to him growing up and being the youngest of however many siblings it was, and going to Vietnam and coming back from that. And he talks about his work because it's really important to him, obviously. The funny part of it, funny being relative, of course, is that the special effects was not really his main focus, kind of ever. He really wanted to be an actor. And so a lot of what as he's talking, because he obviously features heavily in this, when he's talking about turns his career took and all of that stuff, the one place it almost always ended up at some point was the theater, which I would never have pegged him as a theater guy, as a theater actor. I just didn't know that about him really. So that's actually pretty interesting. His personal life it kind of takes over the whole show after a while, and I mean, it's not the easiest life, but he seems to have held on to his sanity for the most part. as much as he ever had anyway. He's sort of that kind of guy. He's kind of a fun-loving guy, and I mean a really hard worker and really good at what he does, and really good at the special effects stuff. And I mean it's just kind of the documentary itself I thought did a pretty good job of kind of reading like a biography. So I mean I think that's a win. So it's an interesting watch. I mean there's some cool special guests that show up in this thing and people they talk to, and it's a lot of fun. It's worth checking out for sure.
Nice.
I like that.
Including Robert Rodriguez. So to tie it all together somehow. It's not a tight knot, but it's there.
Cool. All right. Anything else?
Nah, I'm pretty boring, really.
Well, and to be fair, it was a short time period between episodes too. So
yeah, a little bit.
We recorded the last episode later in the week than we normally do. So
We did.
Yeah.
So
True story.
all right. Yep. It's a true story. Les.
I can't bring much to the table. I did find a series called Murderville. Murderville is half-hour episodes with a series of guests. The guests are not they're part of the investigation, but they are they don't know what's going on. Trying to think of the actor, the voice of Batman in the Lego movies. He was on.
Yeah, Will Arnett.
Yes, thank you. He plays a detective, and in this half hour, he is given a crime to solve, a murder or something like that. Usually a murder, since it's Murderville. He has a script to follow. Like I said, the guests do not. So it's up to the guest to solve the crime. And it is some of the funniest half hour that I've seen in a long time. It's quick-witted, and some of the guests have to be on their toes. So try this out. If you get the chance, I believe it's on, I'm going to say it's on Netflix. It's either Netflix or Prime. But it's fun just to sit there and try to solve the crime too, because you don't know who did it or how they did it or why they did it. So you move that direction with them. It's a gas. It's fun to try to solve. It's like reading a Holmes book and solve it before Sherlock says this is how it happened. So if you get the chance, try it. It's good fun.
And it's called what again?
Murderville. Murderville.
MOUSC.
And to that I say smartass.
And justifiably so, I'd say.
All right. It sounds interesting.
It does.
Very cool.
Murder comedy. Gotta love it.
Mm-hmm. Colonel Mustard in the study, the candlestick. Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for me, not a whole lot on my end. I've been basically kind of been sticking to classic Mystery Science Theater 3000. getting a few chuckles, seen in a long time, and some I've not seen before, which frightens me a little
That
bit because
seems
some of them are
unlikely,
really
right?
bad. Well, there was a part right after they moved to sci-fi. I mean, I saw some of them, but it just, I think in hindsight, moving to sci-fi was such a bad move. It sounds like the Sci-Fi Channel really, really kind of messed them up, because there was the whole thing of, well, they can only do sci-fi films. I'm like, okay, from the channel who basically does marathon of wrestling and ghost hunters. Okay, we got to have sci-fi somewhere, so Mystery Science Theater has to do sci-fi. And then they were the ones who said the host segments had to have a storyline, which I had not learned before until I was reading something. I was like, they're the ones that respond, because it's like it didn't make any sense for this to happen. And plus the fact that it kind of screws it up when they're played on repeats, because, with before, there's nothing connecting the overall series, so you can show them in any order you want, and it doesn't matter. But now you got this story arc going on, and if you show them out of place, it's just going, okay. You can see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Totally.
Plus the fact that it really wasn't any good, but that's just my personal feeling. But yeah, it's been kind of fun watching some of those again. I actually watched Teenage Strangler earlier today, which is always a fun one. That's one that they rarely show. But it's anyway, it's kind of fun going back and watching some of them. I'm trying to go back and remember what was the first one I saw, and I'm thinking it's among three. It's Cave Dwellers, It Conquered the World, or Rocket Ship XM. It's one of those three. Were like one of the first ones I saw. I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of an interesting concept, and it's funny. So I just can't remember, because it's like as soon as I discovered it, I mean, I just soaked it in, because it was like, oh, this is perfect.
I remember.
Yeah, because I got Charlie in pretty quick too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was a very long ago.
Which may contribute to why you can't remember which one was first.
Yeah. Yeah. Between watching so many at the first time, and then there's so many. Yeah. It's like,
there's a lot of them too.
Mm-hmm. So, and they're actually starting up a new season that's only going to be available on Joe Hodgson. That's created, I think, Gizmotron is what it's called. But it's going to be basically a website, and it's only going to be available there. He's moved them away from Netflix. There was some kind of dispute, and I don't recall right off the top of my head what it was about. There was something going on, so it's only going to be available there, and then all the older episodes that are not Netflix will be there as well. So he's kind of moved off and doing his own thing. So, and it's kind of an interesting list, and they're kind of doing some different things. And this season, they're actually going to have like 4 different hosts. There's Jonah. Joel will do some. Emily, who's been doing the live show tour. And I think there was someone else. I can't remember right now. But they're going to be switching around. And I can't remember some of the titles. I know one of them was The Mask, which was a 1961 I think it's 1961. It's early 60s, and that was in 3D, and that's going to be their Halloween special.
Mm.
And then at the end of the year, their last one's going to be the Christmas Dragon, where all the hosts will be doing their riffing in addition to the robot, Servo and Crow. I want to see the Batwoman. There's one's called the Batwoman, and it's not. I'm not talking about the Wild Wild World Batwoman. There was apparently another one in the late '60s. I guess it was Italian or something like this. But I mean, she's wearing a bikini, and then she's got the bat cowl. That's Batwoman. So, there look like some interesting choices. There were none of the films that I was familiar with. None of them, which, not surprisingly.
Mm.
So, but it's always fun kind of watching some of those.
Yep.
All right, before we get into this week's discussion, we kind of mentioned it briefly earlier that we do have a Discord that y'all are more than welcome to come join us. We post news items, stuff for discussion, funny stuff, memes. We'll do some activities. We'll have like something that's like a monthly theme type of thing. We've done live events on our Discord. We'll do like a movie night or something like that. The Discord's free to sign up. The app is free. And once you get that, it's available everywhere where you can get apps. And once you have that, just go to our website, www.thefellowshipofgeeks.net. Right there on the home page is an invite. You just click on that, and you are in. And we would be more than happy to have you with us.
Yep. We have a pretty good time.
Yeah.
Okay, we are continuing our company month and look at the celebration of the Three Stooges and their 100th anniversary of existence. For this week, first week, obviously, we focused on Curly and in the early years before the Three Stooges hit the screen. And last week, we examined the Shemp years. So for this week, we are actually going to be covering the Joe Besser years and the Joe DeRita years and kind of the end. And kind of a little bit of the rebirth and then the actual end, the end and all that. So, not going to be as much fun as the previous 2 weeks because there's a lot of sadness in this episode. I'm sorry to say, but yeah, I'm sure we'll have some fun talking about this as well. So just to kind of go over real quick with start off with the Joe Besser years. And years is being kind of...
It's a stretch. There weren't very many.
It's a stretch. There was like 2,
Yep.
if that.
57 to 59.
Shemp, as you recall, had a heart attack. And there was, 4 episodes or 4 films that they had yet to complete. So they had to use stand-ins to finish up the year.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, they started looking for a new third Stooge. Something I did not know that they actually looked at. Mantan Moreland, who, if that name's not familiar, if you've seen the old Charlie Chan films with Sidney Toller, he played Birmingham Brown, the chauffeur and whatever, the all-purpose guy. Mo was looking at him as being the third Stooge, which that would have been interesting.
Mm.
And who was it?
Mantan Moreland.
Okay.
Boy, thinking about this being the mid 50s and then and the Stooges basically going interracial there. That I wonder how well that would have been received.
That would have been an interesting statement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
He's funny as hell. He was funny in those movies. He had a comedy team. I don't remember who the other guy was, though, because there was a bit that they did where they would have a conversation and they basically either start a question or start a sentence or start a story, and the other guy goes, no, that didn't happen. This is what happened, that kind of thing. So they're kind of responding to each other without actually finishing the questions or sentences, that kind of stuff. And this goes on for about 3 or 4 minutes or so. It's funny as hell. It is funny as hell.
It is.
I'll need to find a link, and we'll put that in the show notes.
That's cool.
Because I saw a later version that had Nipsey Russell being part of it too, and it was just as funny. But they looked at him, but Columbia came in and said, "No, we got this guy here, Joe Besser. He's already under contract. Why don't y'all use him?" And he had success prior to this.
Yeah.
So. I'm going to say this right up front. When I was younger, I really hated the Joe shorts, the shorts with featuring Joe. But looking back, as I got older and in reading more of what was going on behind the scenes and all this, I feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
Because first of all, he's literally an outsider.
Yeah. And they didn't want him. They were looking for someone else. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he comes in and says, "Well, I'm not going to take any physical punishment." Actually has it written in the contract that, no, you're not slapping me or anything like that.
And how are you a stooge if you don't get slapped?
He wasn't. That's the deal.
Yeah.
He wasn't a stooge. He'd never done that before. Didn't, and had the presence to see it, and was like, "No, I need to do this my way, or I'm not doing it."
Yeah, and he's literally playing the same way he was playing before, which kind of makes sense because that's what brought him the prominence.
My opinion is there are some entertaining moments.
There are,
but yeah, it's definitely not the same.
No. I always thought he was like a cousin or something, that he wasn't part of the Stooges when I watched those episodes.
Yeah. And another thing is, this is at these are the final days of the 2 reels of these comedy shorts, and it was basically the Three Stooges that are the only ones. They were the last ones around.
Mm-hmm.
So the budgets were slashed even further. I know Mike mentioned it a little bit last week. The budgets were slashed further. They were reusing scripts. They were reusing footage from prior shorts as well.
At an unprecedented level at this point.
Oh mm-hmm. Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, we kind of talked about it before. There was the one short where Larry was the womanizer, and it was originally filmed with Shemp. Well, some of the new short, I mean, it's literally the same script, and most of the footage is the same, and some of that stuff you can actually see Shemp. I mean, you may not see his face, but you can see it's him. It's clearly him. It's not Joe. It's so bad. And then there's another one where it had to deal with them discovering oil. And that was literally in the footage of quote unquote Joe being shot into the air from the oil. That's Curly. That's
very
Curly.
Obviously Curly, yeah.
Or Curly stand-in.
Right, the stunt double, but
the stunt double. But yeah, I mean, it's clearly that. I mean, it was so bad. So I feel sorry for it's almost like, why did they do this?
Right. It seems like they probably just should have stopped.
Yeah.
When Chimp died, they probably just should have said, "Look, okay, we have to do these last 4. We have to finish these with the fake Chimp.
Right.
Let's just call it quits there." Um, in a way, I kind of wish they had. I mean, it seems weird to think that there weren't any more. There wouldn't have been any more after that, but I mean, there weren't that many anyway.
I think
Joe
I saw
was in
16.
16 of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, he was in 16 of them.
And
probably a third of them reused old footage. At least a
at
third.
least.
Yeah.
I probably would have said a third
Half.
of the footage
Yeah.
of the 16 was recycled somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just wasn't working anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, if nothing else, I mean, think about it. Mo and Larry are in their 50s at this point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
haven't looked at birth dates to be specific, but this is the 1950s. They've been doing this since the 20s, and they had been working before that.
Right.
So
Taylor grew up like vaudeville and all that. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they've got to be. I mean, and they. I mean, I don't want to knock the guys, but they kind of we're starting to look a little frayed around the edges too. They looked 50, 60 years old.
Especially the episodes where they wore their hair differently. They wore basically what they would be wearing out in public. They did, Mo actually had his hair brushed back and not have the chili bow cut. And yeah, it made them look older because they were older. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe one of the first things they cut in the budget cuts was makeup. I don't know, but
yeah,
it just I mean, don't get me wrong. I got nothing against old comedians, but yeah, I mean, by this time they're just not adding very much at this point. I mean, they're doing the best they can with what they have, but we're at the point where what they have is really nothing.
Yeah.
And so it gets, like you said before, it gets a little sad to see them trying the best they can, but there's just nothing to work with here.
Yeah.
Les, your thoughts?
I'm going to go to bat for Joe. Joe was an accomplished actor to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
He had been in several comedies, and I know you folks were not disregarding that, but I enjoyed his both his reverence to the roles and the fact that he wanted to change it just a bit to accommodate him, where he was not going to be brain dead at the age of 35.
Well, what's the fun in that?
Well, I know the Stooges were built on slapstick and really took slap as part of the formula. But
they put the slap in slapstick, yes.
Yeah.
So Joe was a television comedian. He appeared on shows like Jack Benny or Abbott and Costello, things like that. So Joe fitting in may have been a little tough, but I think he was accomplished enough to pull it off. That's about what I've got to say about him. Unfortunately, he did not get to do the movies that the Stooges filmed later.
Yeah.
Because I thought he would have been a fun person to take that part.
Would he have fit in better had it been, if they had had the funding to do these shorts the way they were done, even in the early Shemp era. Because, I mean, even then they were cutting back and reusing some scripts and footage, not nowhere near as bad as now, or at this time. But if they actually had the money to have better scripts, and I agree, some of the shorts are pretty good, and they were different. I mean, there was, you know, the two shorts with them dealing with what was their sister that was reincarnated as a horse. I mean, that's a little bit out of left field, but those were kind of funny. And then the one where there was triplets of them, that was pretty good. If they had better scripts and had the money to do them the way they did them in the heyday, I just wonder if we would be looking at things a little differently. I think what you see what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, they would have better material to work with.
I mean, there's obviously, I mean, he, like we mentioned, he is an outsider, so and he's wanting to do things differently and then all that. But if they had scripts that kind of worked that to where it was.
Essentially, if they had scripts written for the team as it stood, yes.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly think it would have been a lot more interesting. I mean, because how much? I mean, I don't think it was that big a stretch. The not getting hit thing. That's probably the biggest weirdness of the whole deal. That's only because they'd been doing it that way for 30 years already. But I mean, honestly,
it's what they were known for.
They're also getting a little older, and I mean, it's not necessarily important that Mo slaps somebody all the time. And that was part of it when they were young and doing stunts. That was fine. I don't see any reason why if you've got a consistent set of writers actually writing stuff for the team, you'd probably would have already been writing that stuff out by then anyway.
Right.
Just because it's okay, we've done this. Let's try something different.
Evolve it to where it's a little bit more of a. It wasn't such much sight gags and that kind of stuff to where it's more maybe verbal. You know, exactly. Get rid of some of the, like you said, the stunts or the more physical. Because no one wants to see that.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of
that's if nothing else, it's losing its appeal anyway. Because I mean, like I said, they've been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
Okay, the idea, like you said, the idea of the episodes where they're doing something a little different, those are the ones that work better.
Yeah.
So if we could have gotten more of that, it absolutely would have been a different story. They might have kept doing them for a few more years.
Yeah.
And we might have had a more sizable and more likable,
acceptable.
Yeah, body of work from the Joe years. That would have been great. Yeah, I certainly don't have any problem with Joe.
Yeah.
As a performer at all. He was successful. He was doing well for himself, and that he was willing to step in and essentially help these guys out, and honestly get his face out there in a slightly different way. And I mean, it wasn't necessarily going to hurt him. I got no problem with the guy. I thought he did all right. I mean, like when they had decent material, it worked pretty well.
Yeah.
The problem was they didn't have that much decent material.
Right. I agree. Okay.
So then Columbia decided in mid 1959 that they didn't want to do the shorts anymore.
Yep.
24 years after the fact. Kind of weren't very nice about it either. They wouldn't. I mean, Mo. There's a story about Mo wanting to go back to the studio after a few weeks later just to say goodbye to people, and they wouldn't even let him on the lot.
Damn.
So yeah,
Yeah, they had changed passes and all that, and of course he didn't have the new pass, so it was like, nope. Yeah, that's. I mean, yeah, after 24 years, God knows how much money they made for Columbia to be just discarded. You know, we don't need you anymore. Thank you, but thanks, but no thanks.
right. And honestly, the studio was kind of screwing the boys over along the way anyway, because they
Right.
weren't. I mean, they were signing 1-year contracts every year. They weren't getting raises basically. Their budgets and writing staff were getting cut constantly, and the studio was doing a delightful job of keeping the boys from knowing how popular they really were, which I found interesting. But
Yeah.
that seems like that would be completely friggin' impossible today.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah.
It seems like it would have been difficult then, but yeah. So they were not only making money off of these guys, they were milking them hard.
Yeah.
So there we are. I mean, you read a story like that and you're like, damn, I wish they'd gotten them. I wish they'd cut them 10 years before that. They could have gone off and done something really
Yeah.
awesome
Yeah, I mean, they could have. Yeah, they could have been doing films
instead of
much earlier.
of the mediocre shorts they were doing at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do?
Yeah. So they didn't know what they were going to be doing next until they found out they were extremely popular because of TV.
Mm-hmm.
TV networks were looking for content to throw up on the screen, and studios were throwing backlogs at them, saying, "Okay, here you go." And amongst the material was sent to them was Three Stooges shorts. So all of a sudden, people who were watching them on the big screen when they were kids are now able to show them to their kids, and lo and behold, they're very popular, even more popular. So now they're how did the movies come about? I know it's because of that, but I'm not sure how they were approached. But Joe left the group because he had to take care of his wife. What was due to some illness,
Heart attack or something.
Heart attack, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and he didn't want to travel anymore. So
Right.
because the Mo and Larry were starting to travel around to do
Right.
basically
Shows.
public appearances and shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So how did the movies come about then? Was it because of just the building off of the show, their appearances and TVs? Is that essentially?
I think so.
And
They brought in the other guy,
Joe DeRita.
Joe DeRita.
I had read something over the years that Mo had actually looked at Joe DeRita after Shemp had passed. Now, I'm not. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong.
No, I think I had read that too. They had looked at quite a few different people and decided on him. And what was kind of interesting is two of the main people, was it Frank Mitchell and Mousy Gardner? They were looking at those two. And with Del Rita, when Mo and Larry, I think Larry had a stroke on one side of his body, and so he was done. And Mo, he was done. So Del Rita actually had looked at Mousy and Frank again, which, like I said, was originally Mo's two original picks. So I think he tried to keep it going, and he was kind of like, if this was the best of him, this is the best I'm going to bring. And they did form, but they never appeared together. So it was kind of one of those things. He tried to get it going, but it just didn't take off.
Yeah, and you're jumping ahead a little bit, but that's
Oh, yeah.
that's
Sorry.
okay. It's fine. It's fine. We get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Well,
did do the cartoons, and I thought that was kind of interesting. In the cartoons, I liked the cartoons. Now, reading about it on here, they said that it was mixed in with Three Stooges shorts, and they'd have a cartoon, then they'd play a short. All in all, there was 4 cartoons in each episode. So they filmed 156 episodes for cartoons, but being that there was 4 in each episode, it only worked out to 39 episodes. But I'm wanting to say when I saw the Three Stooges cartoons, it was on, with like Penelope Pitstop and that kind of thing. Like they had already moved on from that and put them over, and we're talking much later after these were made though, but it was part of the Saturday morning cartoon thing, you know.
Yeah, I imagine that was as much a rerun thing as anything else, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
They're
sure.
Probably, they're probably just running them like back to back or something.
Yeah.
I can't
But, yeah.
remember, like I said, if it was the Wacky Races they were in, or if it was like Rocky and Bullwinkle, but it was something like that. It was a different cartoon, and I think they only played one of them. So I probably have not seen all of these.
Oh gosh, I know for a fact I haven't.
Yep.
I remember seeing a few of them,
Yeah.
but not a lot.
Not a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anywhere that plays them now. I'll have to look that up. Maybe Tubi or something does.
I don't know.
I hadn't looked into it. I mean,
Me neither.
I wouldn't mind seeing them again. I seem to remember them being halfway decent, and I definitely like seeing the live intros and endings. You know, they would do something and then say, okay, well, here's a cartoon, and then they'll play the cartoon, and then they'll come back, and it'll be a couple other things, and then that's it. You know, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is.
Which is funny because they tried to do TV a couple of times. They did one during the Shemp era, but it got nixed by Columbia. It was like, no, you can't do that. You can't do a TV show. So they were going to actually try to do something back then, which kind of goes back to what you were saying, Mike. I mean, we talked about doing movies. What if they moved over to TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, that in that early 50s era. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when TV was taking off.
Yeah. If they had moved over, if they had the opportunity to move over to TV during then, that would have been interesting.
That would have made a big difference.
Oh yeah. No, we kind of overlooked the films with Joe Dorita. They were very, very popular. There was like 6 or 7 of them, if I'm not mistaken.
I see 6 titles here.
Yeah. And I hate to admit this, but like I said, I'm seeing them much later, and I didn't know that Curly Joe wasn't curly. So, my bad.
Maybe that was on purpose, though.
Yeah.
Maybe that was based on their efforts. They were trying to make the connection there.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't trying to overblow it either, but they were trying to capture something.
Yeah.
Well, just the looks and the statute of both of them, you know, if you didn't know their face real well, you know, yeah. That's
Oh yeah, they're totally trying to capitalize on his somewhat resemblance to Curly. I remember reading somewhere that Mo says, "Shave your head." He requested Joe Dorita to shave his head so they can actually
and they've referred to
enforce that
a lot of through a lot of those 6 films. They refer to him as Curly Joe.
Yeah.
So it was on purpose.
It was on purpose. They were pushing the whole.
And
it's curly,
I
but it's not.
The same with the cartoon too. I thought that was Curly and not Curly Joe.
Yeah. I can't believe it's not Curly.
Wow.
What listing do you have for the movies then? What movies are you listing?
I see
There's
Have Rocket Will Travel in 59, Snow White and the Three Stooges in 61, the Three Stooges Meet Hercules and the Three Stooges in Orbit in 62, the Three Stooges Go Around the World in a Daze in 63, and The Outlaws is Coming in 65.
There's one called Kook's Tour, Kooks. The original movie was Stop, Look, and Laugh. That was with Paul Winchell, and they showed Curly episodes in that movie. I remember seeing that one at the theaters, and I was just dumbfounded. I thought, oh my God, they made it to the big screen.
Well, Cook's Tour, it was repurposed because it was a pilot for another TV show. But that's about the time, as Liz mentioned earlier, that Larry had a stroke and he was partially paralyzed. Where that basically nullified that. Because I've actually seen some footage of Cook's Tour. It was supposed to be, the whole premise of its series was them retired, just going around the country, just, you know, I like this was them going fishing, and
Right.
and then they were going to do other things in the other episodes. It just, you know, with Larry's issues, that just basically killed a lot of their plans.
And then they made an appearance in It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Mm-hmm.
One of the funniest segments. Them as the firemen waiting for the plane to crash. And the three of them are just standing there. Not a word is said. They just show them as the fire crew at the airport. And they're in uniform and just waiting for the crash. I also saw that they had an audition for a movie much later, but at that time Mo was sick, so and later it became lung cancer.
Yeah.
And that was Blazing Stewardesses.
Yes.
Which now I've got to find. Because they do have the Ritz brothers in there.
Yeah, the Ritz blood. Yeah, to replace them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be fun to see anyway.
If we want to talk, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The one that I really enjoyed as a kid was the Three Stooges in Orbit. I enjoyed that one so freaking much with the aliens that were trying to steal the special helicopter tank submarine. And it just, my eyes glazed over. I had so much hope for that machine to show up somewhere in real life. But they were trying to keep the aliens from stealing the machine. So, and in fact, I remember having a comic book of that, but it was pictures from the movie as the panels, and then speech blurbs on each page. So it's fun to read that and enjoy it.
Yeah, I forgot what that's called, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. The thing I found interesting, I had heard over the years that they were at this time period, they were going to bring in Emil Simca to replace Larry's since due to his illness and all that. But there was apparently they were going to do a film called Make Love Not War. Have y'all heard about this?
No.
Okay, let me read this real quick. Mo Howard, Joe Dorita, and Emil Sitka were cast as POWs in a World War II Japanese prison camp, plotting an escape with fellow prisoners. The film would have been a departure from typical stooge fare with dark edge humor and scenes of war violence, but insufficient funding prevented production from advancing beyond the script stage. Wow.
And this is early 70s, right?
Yes. This is
like
about.
Said, it's after Larry's stroke. Larry's stroke was in 70.
70, yeah. That would have been interesting.
That would have been very interesting.
I would probably pay money to see that.
So, and of course, Larry has another stroke in December of 74, and then an even bigger one basically a month later, and then slips into a coma, and he passes away in early 75. But apparently Mo, I think that was at the point that Mo said that Mo basically gave up trying to do anything because he didn't have Larry now.
Yeah, he died shortly after, right?
He died shortly after that because he had his own illness to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned Blazing Stewardess. It was Mo, Curly Joe, and then Emil Sitka, although he would be called Larry as Larry's brother. Harry as Larry's brother. God, sorry. Yeah. It even went so far to have publicity shots taken, but that's when Mo was diagnosed with lung cancer and then died pretty soon after that. So, a kind of sad way for the team to kind of end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a silver lining there, it's that. I mean, this is in the 70s that all of this getting sick and having strokes and dying is going on. I mean, which means they've been doing this for 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they had good long careers.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a lot of good material out of them. They made a lot of people happy.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids enjoyed their stuff for a long time. So,
and they still wanted to do it too.
Right, and they're still trying to do that. They're still trying to entertain people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, them properly, still wanting to keep doing it. I'm sure some of it's due to money, but the fact that I'm sure they enjoy doing it. They had to.
Yeah.
They had to do it because that's a. You talked about earlier about the slaps and pratfalls and all that. That's a lot of abuse on the body.
Mm.
And
even if you know how to do it and make it look harder than it really is and all that, you're still literally going to work and smacking each other all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're doing it gently and trying to make it look good.
Yep.
It's rough. And they did it really well.
Mm-hmm. But we'll get into that a little bit more with next week. We'll talk a little bit more about the legacy, and we need to talk about that film. It came out a few years ago.
We do.
So, any final thoughts before we wrap this up and take a quick break?
Nope. I think we're going to save the high notes for next week.
Yep.
There is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I noticed on one of the streaming services a series of shorts by the Stooges, and it was hosted by Mike Nelson. And what it was Stooge routines to live audiences, mainly kids. And I'm sorry to say I don't have the information for it. I'll do a job and see if I can locate it. But it was, to me, it was kind of fun just to sit and watch the segments, and knowing you knew what was going to happen, but it was so much fun just to sit and watch. So if I find that, hopefully you folks will enjoy it too, because it is amazing as to how much they accomplished.
Yeah, if we can get that, we can definitely put that in the notes, show notes.
And I did see that the cartoon is on Tubi, and it's also on Amazon Prime. I haven't looked on Tubi, but on Amazon Prime, they give you 13 episodes with 3 in it each, so you get to see 39 of them.
Nice.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. There's more than that. They actually have 4 seasons, so it probably is all of the 156 episodes.
Cool.
Is that?
Yeah, I'm looking at Tubi right now. It looks like it's just the... Oh, no. 4 seasons. Okay. And there's also on Tubi, Cook's Tour.
Ooh.
Cool.
And Jerks of All Trades. I'm not sure what that one's about. So there's quite a few Stooges on there.
Nice.
Even the 3 Stooges on the Ed Wynn Show.
Jerks of All Trades was the pilot.
Okay, that's right. That was the pilot that Columbia put the kibosh on.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think I've seen bits and pieces of it because it was like done before a live audience. So you can actually hear people laughing.
Well, that's cool.
If it's what I'm thinking it is. I've seen something where it's like that. And I think that's it. So cool. I didn't know that the cartoons were on there, so I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. So all right. On that note, we are going to take a break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Normally this would be our comic picks time, but we are not doing those anymore. We actually have a new segment that we will be debuting here in the not too distant future. Be apprised of that. It should be interesting, should be fun. If you like us kind of going off in the tangents, I'm sure we'll be definitely doing that through this segment. So
I cannot imagine what you're talking about.
Nah.
Yeah. So
I don't know the meaning of the words.
Yeah, we've been trying to work on that too. Liz doesn't know the meaning of a lot of words, but we're helping. We're helping.
They'll learn me up.
Any shout-outs or special shout-outs or mentions this week?
No, don't think so.
No.
Nothing here.
Well, I mean, I guess we were just talking about it during the break. Special congratulations to our friend David Pepos for being the head writer of the new Savage Avengers book, which will be coming out starting in May, I believe.
I think you're right.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Sounds about right, because, I mean, it's February, so they're already promoting stuff for May. So, yeah, Savage Avengers. He's writing for Marvel. in addition to everything else he's been doing. Congrats to him.
Yep. Yay!
Very, very well deserved. He's a fun writer. He's a great guy, and we're obviously all happy for him. So
Yeah.
He does good work.
He does. And he's definitely put in the work. So
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Oh, definitely. So, okay, we'll move on to our regular shout-outs. I want to thank Pop Goes the Culture Podcast Network for allowing us to be a great part of a great group of fellow podcasts. Definitely check them out. There will be a link in our show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who have been so gracious as to spread the word of the fellowship on Twitter, and I am talking about the Potter family. And the best way to do that is to search hashtag Potter family. And of course, it'll pull up a list. Just go scroll through whatever catches your eye. Please, please, please click on that link and download that episode, and hope you have a great time listening to them. Thank you guys for your support as always. Want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to our podcast. In our show notes, there will be a link to where you can check out their music. Thank you guys as always. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. Any questions, comments, suggestions, observations, complaints, what have you, please send them our way. There are several ways you can do that. Our email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Or you can go to the website and go to the About Us page, and there is a contact form that you can fill out. Our social media, Facebook, we are The Fellowship of the Geeks. Obviously, we're on Twitter. It's @FellowshipGeeks. Follow us there if you like. If you like to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found @MikeyGeek. Liz can be found @LN_geek. Les may or may not be found @FakeLesWebster. And I can be found @TomTCGeek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you would please, please, please take a couple extra moments to rate and review our show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
thank you, everybody.
Thanks, and come see us on Discord.
Yes,
Yep.
by all means, please, please. I mean, why am I saying please, please, please 3 times? What the hell's...
It's catchy.
Yeah, I guess. Thank you for listening, and until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook @The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter @Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,